With that said, we are going to close this out in a rather unique way today. I'm going to bring on Lucas Walker, who is hosting a myriad of podcasts, a lot in the e-commerce space, and has been in e-commerce and e-commerce technology for a while. Lucas, if you're ready, I'm bringing you in here right now. How's it going?
Good. How's my audio? Check 1, 2.
Yes, yeah, true professional here.
Where are your ear pods? It said in the green room to make sure you have headphones. So I've got these big Audio Technicas on, and do you have like tiny little Bluetooths in there? What do you got going on?
I am just risking it through the speakers, which are pointed away from my microphone, and hopefully there's no background noise.
No, it sounds great.
Check on it, but I think there's no background. Otherwise, a bunch of people have been overly polite while I go echo.
No, it's great. That's why I was asking. I was surprised maybe a little invisible cable, but the software is good, and I applaud that you've been doing this for coming up on 5 hours now on the live button and giving me the opportunity to close it out.
Yeah, well, of course, I will go ahead and step out here. I'll let you introduce Kristen, and definitely make sure before we begin to plug your podcast and make sure that we can all follow along for all future episodes.
Absolutely. And if you're taking off now because you're on the East Coast and you want to commute home in 11 minutes, just search for Lucas Walker on Spotify, on Apple. This is going to go on the Pit Stop brand of podcast. Very tactical, very merchant driven, how to every episode. If you don't learn something that will make you an extra $100, leave a negative review on Apple. And then I also have my Rolled Up podcast, which it's a podcast for me, interviews with founders, a little bit more refined, but it's not going to be as tactical. Next podcast dropping is called Bricks and Clicks with the team over at Omnium CPG, getting into the thick, heavy molasses of retail marketing. For instance, looking at things like if you have one SKU going into Kroger's, how does that get you $1.3 million? And what happens if a SKU sucks? Because one SKU at a time adds up pretty quick. So that's what I'm working on these days. I'm excited to be joined by Kristen Jones. Derek, thank you so much for passing me the mic. Kristen, you are the head of marketing, director of content over at the Groomsman Suit, home of the $194 suit, which is perfect because I own 3 suits and I've probably worn them a total of 7 times. So my cost per wear is not very optimized. You do a lot. You're not an analyst, but you take a very data-driven approach to both the organic and paid side. What else am I missing here, Kristen?
I mean, that's pretty general coverage for me. I do a little bit of everything. Our team is very small. There's only 11 of us. I'm the only person that is hired for a specific focus in marketing. So a couple other people have a little bit of hands in the bucket or in the pool, whatever you want to say. But for the most part, I'm the one that handles all of it. And that can come from like strategizing blog content, to sourcing writers, to writing it myself, to creating content like digitally, to finding influencers. Thankfully, a lot of our team likes to be logged into Instagram and like searching through and finding those people. So they'll send me someone to check out. And then to obviously like executing all paid channels. And for the most part, the only thing that we outsource in terms of paid advertisement is SEO. But all of our paid social, organic social, everything is done in-house, primarily by me with like a little bit of hands from other people on other various areas of the team. So yeah, I can do it all.
Thank you. And that's what I'm so excited for today, because so many D2C brands really are starting out now quite small, where you have to be able to juggle a lot, where you have to do an organic TikTok, but also run a large Facebook ads budget, which is easily could be its own job.
For sure. And just to like kind of even use what you just said and make something from it. On my first or second week, I made a TikTok from like the authentic perspective of like, if you're getting married, this one's for you. This is the groomsman suit, and like ran through our website. It was like very low budget with my iPhone. And it ended up unexpectedly, like I did not expect any views. It didn't go like super viral or anything, but it got 55,000 views and it bumped our site traffic by 20%. And this was like my 5th day on the job. So they were like, you're a genius. But it went really well. And then now I actually utilize that same video in our ads. That actually drives a lot of top of funnel people into the very top of the funnel, like video views and whatnot. but it's been really beneficial. So that's one way to tie in that organic content for TikTok and then bringing it into paid ads.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going through our notes because we're going to touch on a few items and hopefully turn this into 3 episodes of Pit Stop. We'll see. It might just be one great free-flowing conversation, but I'd love to really start there. I think the elephant in the room to talk about is COVID and how, I mean, it affected everything, but also buying a suit or any thing that's kind of tailored. Usually there's a few measurements. You can try to measure it yourself, but it's not great. So what were some of the ways that COVID impacted your business? Because on one hand, it's great to be able to go online and really buy a suit that you can wear and order it. But then on the other hand, you can't the wedding industry. I mean, I was hoping to drop some 90 Day Fiance references here, but you don't know about Brandon and Julia having to have a very, very fast wedding. Which is funny because if you were to think of which one of us is the 90 Day Fiance fan, I don't think you'd pick me.
Yeah.
So, I'd just love to hear how COVID impacted overall sales and operations for the groomsmen suit, both positive and negative.
Yeah, so I would like to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I did start in November, so I kind of started late in the game for COVID, but I've obviously been brought up to speed and know exactly what has happened over the last year and where things have gone and what happened. So to kind of start that, I would like to also preface with the fact that we were an online first suiting business. So we were always like starting with the D2C in mind. And we do have 3 physical locations and showrooms, and those are in Chicago, Philly, and now Denver. Basically, with that being said, we had a lot of stuff already implemented on our site to let people have like a seamless online suit shopping experience. And because of COVID, then we were able to implement a few more things that were able to take it kind of to the next level. I actually got a review the other day that was like, it's just like going to the store and shopping, except you're at home. So we love to see that. So some of the things that contributed to that were the fact that we have our Fit Finder online. So we partner with a huge database that has tons of information on people's sizes. So then if somebody can just put in their height, shoe size, and a few other data points like age, weight, stuff like that, they can then get like their predicted suit size. And then if they feel like maybe it's off, they have the ability to then send us an email or whatever, then we can get them all squared away. We also do virtual appointments. So if a couple or an individual, it doesn't really matter, you can buy a suit from us even if you're not a groomsman or in a wedding. But no matter who those people are, they can set up a virtual appointment with us and have a stylist walk through either what they are looking to accomplish with their look, or if they just need kind of help with sizing. I'd say for the most part, like our Fit Finder that I mentioned is 80% accurate. There are some people who are not like the average person. For example, my boyfriend is a bodybuilder, so his like top is like very big and broad, and then his waist is very small. So that obviously like there's some like off chance or off use cases there that are outliers that don't really fit into that, but for the most part it works really great. And that has helped kind of alleviate that stress of like, is this going to fit? Like, I don't know what to get, that a lot of people face whenever they're shopping online. But I will say the other thing about that is we also, like the groomsmen suit as a company, we have the widest range of sizes of any other like D2C retailer online. I'm really bad at this part because I'm not working on like the sizing aspect very often, but I know that we have 0 to 20 in women's, and then we have like some very like really low to men's up to like a 40, I think, or maybe high.
40
maybe
seems
50,
not so big, probably.
Okay, there's a really big range. See, I'm terrible at sizing. I don't want to be quoted there.
Well, that's why it gets tricky, and it's funny you mentioned awkwardly sized people. I am one of those people who've got just freakishly long arms, apparently. And I was in a store once, but just buying some shirts, and I'm like, it's hard to find stuff that doesn't like go all the way up here. And so he measures me, like you get measured down the arm, looks at his tape measure, calls his buddy over, and uses his friend's tape measure. He's like, "Oh, you're not at all like wrong. Whatever." I'm like, but just what a way to feel of, oh, what a freak with these long arms. Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned that in some of the ways that does matter. And we'll talk about some of those personalized automations a great way, especially if you know someone has that awkward sizing, to put in sort of a snippet of dynamic text to say, by the way, also available in tall or extra thin or whatever it is, or you can mix and match your sizings. But I'd love to just also mention that you, like me, you were on the software side of e-commerce before as well, at a company called Springbot and a few others. Do you want to talk a little bit about how your experience there impacts what you do day to day on the merchant side of things as well?
Yeah, sure. So recapping, I worked for a few SaaS companies before breaking into e-commerce. I had been like very distracted, I guess is the word, like shiny object syndrome by the app Yik Yak that is no longer in business. But I loved the experience I had working for them whenever I was in college, and they were like my first contract gig out of college. So I loved that experience. I was like, I'm going to be in SaaS marketing forever. This is what I love doing. So I kind of like went down this path of, I couldn't start marketing. It was really hard back then, and even now, to just like get right into marketing easily, especially where, you know, some of these bigger companies are startups. So I went from Yik Yak to Uber Eats, and then went from there to Springbot. And Springbot was my first chance at like really getting in with e-commerce. I didn't really have any idea of what I was doing as it pertained to e-commerce. I just knew that tool. I was an onboarding specialist. And so my job there was literally to work with these small and medium-sized businesses. I had about 8 new clients a week and managed 60 to 120 clients at a time. So they would get onboarded. I would help implement all their automations, make sure that they had like their web ads and stuff for retargeting. And I mean, honestly, that was kind of it in the beginning. And then we had released our own ESP right before I had started. So when I started, it was super new. It was so clunky. There was like, you know, unless you really knew the ins and outs and all of its little, you know, bugs, then making an email campaign was quite difficult. So I got obsessed with it and like learning exactly how to use it. And so I told my boss one day, like, I want to make emails for people. So they were like, okay, here's your job. So me and this other girl started a team of campaign services where we basically took any paying client at Springbot that wanted somebody to make emails for them or start ad campaigns for them. And we just started running their paid social and email marketing. And with really, honestly, like looking back on it now, we had no grounds to be doing that. Like we had no idea what we were doing. We were just kind of kicking things off, but we learned really quick. And it ended up being like a really big revenue driver for our company. By the time I left Springbot, I was we had built it to 10 people. So, and had split it up between like creators versus paid specialists and whatnot, like you see in often a lot of times in agencies now. But what happened here is like, in this time period, probably worked with more than 500 e-commerce stores. And this could be somebody as small as like a mom and pop shop that was making product photos on their iPhone, or like, probably even worse than that, like some like really low quality image, to somebody. There are a lot of larger brands that we worked with, but a few of them were on NDA, so I will not quote them specifically. But there were some really big brands that were really well established that if I did name drop them, you would know exactly who they were. So the variety of people that I worked with, they could be selling bracelets to literally pet shrimp online, like things I didn't even know people bought online. Like I worked with it, and that required me to be like in this constant state of like being adaptable. I would have to go from like making a fashion email campaign where I'm like doing new arrivals, then to like creating something for bike parts. So I became a designer very quickly, like a graphic designer very quickly. I became an email strategist very quickly. It went from doing email campaigns to like re-strategizing their automation strategy and building out the content that would go in there. And then again, like adapting to Facebook. When you're working with like a really small client that doesn't have a lot of data for Facebook to utilize for optimization, you have to get really crafty really quick. So that like really drove a lot of just constant research and development of like, how can I get more people into the top of funnel so then I can lower their cost per click and then lower that CPA and those lifetime values and whatnot. So that everything I learned there has gone immediately into what I do now. So, you know, I just have continued to develop those skills over time and bring them into larger scale for these larger brands like the groomsmen too.
Awesome. And I love that too, because it is such a wide variety of customer base that you're dealing with.
Yep.
It's a lot of that will impact. And it's funny how you have a lot of great differentiators, like the $194 suit on the website, like the measuring technology, like the fact that you're direct to consumer first. But at the end of the day, you can be the best business in the world. If nobody knows from you, they're not going to buy. There's a reason that Steve Jobs put the Apple Store in the busy malls. And if you think of it now, organic really is your foot traffic. So let's kick off episode 1 of Pit Stop, live recorded at the Future of E-commerce with Kristen Jones, marketing director for the Groomsman Suit. You had mentioned that when you first started, day 5, you created a TikTok with some of the credit that you're still using now. What was the recipe for that? What was the secret sauce of? And I realize it's speculative. If you knew why it went viral and blew up, you would do it with everyone. But what are some elements of a good organic post for a product that might not be what people think of a traditional direct-to-consumer brand with, say, a functional snack, or because buying a suit is nothing new. So for more of a traditional or even commoditized product, what are some of the ingredients for good organic content that go into it?
So I like to start thinking about content and like content creation from like the consumption perspective. So I think if you're going to make any type of content, the first thing you should probably start with is consuming the type of like consuming content and seeing like, if you're going to make a TikTok, then you should go sit on TikTok for a couple of days and maybe spend like an hour or even just 20 minutes a day, just kind of like seeing what's trending, what are people responding to. That's kind of like the first step of making good content, in my opinion, is consuming content. And then probably like one of the next steps would be identifying not necessarily problem, but maybe questions, problems, information gaps. So if you are, for example, if we were to go back and you are running paid ads, a lot of times you get a lot of questions on paid ads. You might get replies to your welcome flow or your abandoned carts with questions about like your return policy or whatever the case may be. And kind of really identifying those things. For us, we know those problems, but there's also another problem for us specifically, is that's like rental companies and rental suits are a pain in the butt. You might get something that's like totally mix matched. You might not get the right size.
Maybe
like
something with
get
a
back
stain.
Literally, suits can be worn 40 to 50 times before they're retired. Like, that's gross.
And when you say retired, do you mean like not washed or dry cleaned?
Like before they're out of circulation, like before they can, like they're recycled, like they're not used anymore. They can be worn by 40 to 50 different people. So there's that.
Oh wow, God! I was thinking of like my lifespan of a suit. Like, so if you wear a suit once a week, it only lasts a year. That makes much more sense. So it's the skin mites from people, possible hair getting in there, cleaning agents, right? We don't.
People, and a lot of times, like, for example, I'm not married. I'm in a long-term relationship, but I'm not married. I'm not engaged. I'm not planning a wedding. But so I personally had never thought about like what it's like to buy a suit or rent a suit or what that experience is. And I learned very quickly like what that was like. And so, you know, to tie back to like that, like research and development of like what type of content you're going to make. Our business, one of our co-founders, it really came from this idea of like, one of our co-founders was getting married and she couldn't find the simple suiting solution for her husband and his groomsmen. So, you know, she's a fashion designer. She used to work for Under Armour, I think. Don't quote me. And so she like, you know, hand drew all these designs, and now they're designed and they're, you know, that's the groomsmen suit. So that, you know, that was the initial problem. And so my approach to that piece of content specifically that I'm talking about is that I know that's a problem that people face every day when they're wedding planning. Like, where can I find a suit? And like, how do I get my groomsmen to order? Like all this stuff. So for another example that ties into this is I have a friend who's getting married, and he picked something from one of the big box retailers like Men's Warehouse or something, and the suit he wanted no longer happened. So now, you know, none of his groomsmen ordered in time. So now nobody has that suit, and like he had to change his whole suit situation. So now we're suiting him. So, you know, worked out in my favor. But the thing is like, it can be hard to like do all that. So something else in our technology that we've built out, like we have a CTO, a lot of e-commerce brands do not have the luxury of having that.
No, and I mean, not to cut you off, but you had mentioned that you have 11 employees and one of them is a CTO.
Yep. And the other one is like we have another developer on staff. So 2 of our employees are like totally related to like development and tech. So one of the things that they work on though is our wedding dashboard. So a wedding, somebody that's getting married can come in and like set up a group, and basically all they do is add their people's emails and their style, and then they send that initial like welcome email, like, hey, this is the groomsmen suit, this is what you got to order. And then we automatically follow up with them and make sure they order all the right pieces on time for the wedding. So the other, just tying that back, is we know that all these things are problems. So when I was making this video, I was trying to touch on all these points. Like, this is affordable. We're going to manage your groomsmen for you. This is how the box comes when you get it. And then you have a suit and it fits perfectly. Like, you know, obviously you need tailoring. Our suits come unhemmed purposely so that you can get them tailored right to your body. But, you know,
which a lot of people
summarized all
don't
that.
know, which is funny. And it goes into some of that personalized automation, which I'm sure you got negative reviews of, oh, it was a good suit, but like, what was up with the pant leg?
I think for the most part, we've avoided that. At least since I've been here, I haven't seen that as a problem. And I think that's because we have a really, really nice box. And unless somebody like can't read, which I know happens, like that does exist. And
it does. That's why they're warning not to stop chainsaws with body parts on DeWalt.
So yeah, I guess. But our box right inside, like as soon as you open it up, and I even showed this in that video that I'm referencing here, is like the instructions, like try it on, cut the little strings that hold the pockets together and the flaps, like cut that and take it to your tailor because our pants are unhemmed intentionally. And so I think we've kind of alleviated a little bit of that just because of our customer support. So while 2 of our people are tech, 3 of our people are specifically devoted just to customer support. And we do also have like, well, I don't even want to say 3, but because some people have various titles, but they do focus a lot on support. But we have like our 3 showroom managers that focus a lot on support in the back end as well. Then we have 1 customer support guru who's like only job at like, besides being in the showroom and helping in the Chicago showroom, if she's making sure our trials and everything are shipped out accordingly and handling any like customer tickets that we might get through Gorgeous, etc. So we have a lot of customer support. So I think we've avoided a lot of that. But again, identifying all those problems, knowing what people want, like if I were to just go back and like kind of recap, is like consuming the content yourself first, seeing what's trending so that you can make something that fits in with that and people can consume easily, and then taking your problem and then making that video kind of in that like trending style, I guess you could say. So for us, I used like a trending song in the background. Like I did a lot what everybody else was doing. Like, if you're this person, this is for you. And then showed them how simple it was, answered all the questions that they potentially could have. And then kind of wrapped it up really cleanly. So like, those are like kind of like the key things. And then the last thing is like making sure it's authentic. I heard in the last conversation that was had up here, I was listening in at the end, and authenticity is such an important part of how content is consumed in this stage. And I heard the question about the pendulum. I don't know if there's any people that kind of lingered around, but you know, we are kind of on that side of it where authenticity is the clear winner. And if you're not authentic, if it's way too posed or it seems fake, like it's not as easily received by the audience as if you're being like somebody's friend or somebody that they can relate to.
Even if it's awkward, because I'll be on TikTok and I mean, it's not the best shot TikTok. You can tell it's someone who's maybe trying to ride a trend a little bit, started by a 16-year-old, and they're not Gen Z, but it's them, and you still take something away, and just because it's not polished or refined, it's them trying their best, and you can tell and see through, versus something like a celebrity who joins TikTok and everything's professionally edited, and it feels forced, and there's forced fun is never fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned,
so go ahead.
No, you wrap it up, and then I've got a question just about the free trial.
the only thing there, and like you might have seen this through my Twitter or in like some channels that we communicate in outside of this, but like I also on the side, like after I get off work, like as soon as we get off of this, I'll probably make content for the next few hours. I also work with a lot of D2C brands creating ad assets for them. So it like I just wanted to like add that as like almost like a reinforcement for I literally make ad assets all day from this perspective of like being authentic. Nobody knows who I am. Like when I go, when they get an ad, like there's this one ad I see of myself all the time and it just like kind of cracks me up, but it's like, nobody knows who that is. Like, and nobody's looking at that ad thinking like, who's this girl using this skincare or drinking this thing or whatever. No one thinks that. They're just like, oh, that's me. I'm doing that. Like they see themselves in that. So I think another thing just to like kind of wrap it up is like, also, I'm not the best person to like say this, but anywhere that you can also add like representation of your actual customer, that's what matters a lot. Like if you're, like that, if you are your customer, great. If you can work with people who are your customer, that's even better. Like representation of your customer in any content is super important.
And customers are always happier than you think to share either unboxing or even just photos of them with their product, and they're happy more so than influencers. And I always think start with your customer because they're the actual users, and some of them will be micro influencers, especially for you where wedding shots always seem to do well on social media. Whenever I have a friend post weddings, babies, etc., it always does really well for that engagement. And sometimes it's just that little reminder of, hey, take the groomsman suit and really communicating in a way of what's in it for them. Say, hey, you're going to be looking so fresh. All your single friends and engaged friends are going to be wondering where you got your suit. Make sure you tell them that it's from the groomsman. The groomsmansuit.com.
The groomsmansuit.com.
It is the unofficial suit supplier of 90 Day Fiance. I believe you said something like that. It's something unofficial.
If you're watching, hit me up, Kristen at thegroomsmansuit.com.
Brandon, Big Ed, Jovi, if you need a suit, go hit up Kristen. She's got you.
So real quick, side note, I'm in Atlanta, and a different binge-worthy show that came out early COVID that like captured a lot of people because they were locked at home and needed something to do is Love is Blind. And Love is Blind was shot in Atlanta. And actually there's like, I have quite a few friends that are on there. So
wait. Quite a few friends on the show, like as characters, or like worked on the show as consultants?
No, the people. I know a lot of the people that were on Love is Blind. Whether or not their stories were shown, there were only like 4 or 5 main storylines, but there were like 20 other couples, or at least like individuals on both sides of the like gender identity that were there and that weren't shown on TV at all. Like my friend Matt, we actually got him in a suit. That's what made me think of this. Is like I'm like claiming unofficial suitor of the Love is Blind series, even though if you guys are watching like that one for real, hit me up. But we got him in a suit recently, and his story, for example, he was the first scene, like he's in the car driving and then you never see him again. Like, and he had a story too. Like he had like a story that came out of it. So, anyway, that's beyond the point. It was just a little side note there that I thought was funny and relevant to your 90 Day Fiance spiel.
Well, that's a great question. Well, that wasn't a spiel. That was an offer. Absolutely. Like, yeah. I see you watching this webinar. But it's just such a great question that ties into both the organic and paid side, is almost keeping those opportunities on your sonar for, let's say somebody wears one of your suits on a TV show. How can you have some fun with that? We have a Love is Blind fan in the comments. Love is Blind with a train wreck, and I watched every episode. 2 exclamation points. Jay Anderson. Let us know what show you prefer in the comments, either Love is Blind or 90 Day Fiance. And while you're doing that, Kristen, I'd just love to hear a little bit about how it works or how you capitalize on those opportunities when you see them in your sonar or your radar, however you want to say it. You see someone, and let's say it's a good opportunity, not a total train wreck, but where you see them on a Netflix show or a cable television show, and it's just, hey, this is getting 2 million views. How can you capitalize on that? Even little things like I learned.
I have a great example actually of this.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm gonna shut the hell up so you can tell it.
Okay, I would love to hear what you were gonna say though. My biggest like piece of advice and like the way I approach this is I literally like shoot my shot. So if I see something and there's an opportunity and I'm like, that's getting a lot of views, I want in on that, I literally will find the best way to get in contact with that person and try whether it's through a management, if they have a manager, or whether it's like through immediately DMing them. And honestly, that's like my entire team's philosophy. So the example that I can give like immediately that I think is really great is that there is a guy on TikTok who was like, hi, I want to get married to someone from TikTok. Life's a game. And I saw that like collectively the 3 videos on his account had like a couple million views or close to that or something. And so I went to his Instagram where he had like 2,000 followers at the time. So like I knew I could get into his like onto his radar with like DMs. And I just DM'd him. I was like, can I suit you? Turns out he was he's a freelance videographer. Like that's his job. So he like made us this dope video and all I did was give him a suit. Like, wow. And now that's running for my Philly showroom as an ad that drives a lot of traffic to us. So we suited him in his Vegas wedding, him and his wife, they got married.
Did they meet on TikTok?
They got married on TikTok in Vegas on Valentine's Day. And they are now living together in her ambulance because she has like a converted ambulance. So, he's pretty cool. I wish that we were on all of these TV shows, like really, but the whole thing was just funny to me because like the way that he kind of talked about it was like, oh, it could be whatever, like we'll see what happens. And then he just goes where life takes him. He's like a very laissez-faire type of guy. So then I guess after they got married, they were like, hey, come over here. You don't have anywhere to be, like live in my ambulance and let's travel together. So anyway, I shot my shot. I took the shot and I got a response from it. Same thing happened on our team with 2 celebrities. One I mentioned to you earlier is Joel Courtney. He was on Love is Blind's kissing booth. He's like the best friend. And so his groomsmen suited with us, and I'm 90% sure that it was just because somebody from my team like DM'd somebody that he knew or something. And then same thing happened with Sammy Sweetheart from the Jersey Shore is getting married, and they DM'd her fiance. So now he's going to be suiting up with us. And so it's his brother's wedding. So a lot of it for us has really just been a matter of taking the chance and just like messaging somebody. I know that that's like not always the case for every brand or every product, that like it might not just seem that simple, but you can start small and work your way up. Like the more people that you work with and have like credibility and examples of, like I think that, again, using the word credibility, but the more credibility you have to then go to someone else, like these are the other people we worked with, like do you want to do it too?
What's social? Nobody wants to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, who wants to be the guinea pig is like the real question.
No one. No, and it's I hate how much reality television I've consumed during the pandemic. But I got really into cooking and doing the Gordon Ramsay masterclass. I love later season Hell's Kitchen because you can learn a lot of like legitimate management stuff. Just you have to deconstruct it and build it back up. But one of the things that Gordon Ramsay said was, "You've never cooked this before. You have one opportunity to cook for me, and you're going to use me as your guinea pig." And I just really hit like,
that's so good.
You're doing a product launch. You're going to spend a ton of money on it, which is a good segue into the paid conversation. But why would you not do a few test orders or measurements first before shipping it out? It's you got to get it out the door, but don't test your best material with your guinea pigs. So I'd love to hear a little bit about. Obviously, we chatted how we get some of the content and data for what works on the paid side. How do you set, and obviously without going into any proprietary budgets or any numbers like that, just to set the stage for everyone. But what are some of the ways that you approach paid advertising? Because I would imagine that there's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of referral, a lot of organic. How do you approach paid marketing from that perspective. And just the comment I was going to say earlier about before I cut you off about daytime television and stuff was I learned the other day that Ellen dropped in viewership from 2.5 million viewers per episode to 1.5 million, which puts her in the same echelon as Maury Povich's Bodyguard, Steve. So Steve the Bodyguard from Maury gets 1.5 million viewers per day.
Wow. I mean, she had a scandal though. So, I mean, and it was like a pretty big one with the way that culture is. I mean, to relate it to commerce tech, I mean, MailChimp is kind of going through a very similar thing right now. So, and that's a whole nother conversation. My boyfriend works there. I won't speak on any of it. So, but they're like, you know, that there was one more thing I was going to try to drop in there. Oh, like the test guinea pig. Just like a small plug, something that we didn't talk about earlier, but I've mentioned kind of a little bit here and there, is that groomsmen suit, something that we do to try to do for that guinea pig thing is like, if you're really unsure about your sizing, or you're really unsure if you think our suit is going to be high enough quality for you because we are such an affordable price, doesn't mean we're cheap because we're affordable, but we are affordable. So some people are like, is that real? So we do offer a 7-day at-home trial as well. So I think that's something else that's kind of nice, is that if you're unsure, you're on the fence, or you really want to feel it on yourself before making full commitment, you can get that 7-day trial. And then if you keep it, and we run your card. If not, you send it back, and there's no hard feelings. So we do offer that. But
cool.
We can segue that into the paid social side of things.
It is, which I love, because to me that's a great remarketing strategy. If someone comes to the website, maybe sees an ad, hears about it, and they're like, well, I don't know if I want to buy a suit online. I'd just love to hear about that paid strategy. Yeah.
So for me, again, like kind of going back to my Springbot days, I had to get like really nitty gritty with some people to be able to make them ROAS. Just because, again, like their budgets were really low, or they didn't have a lot of data, or whatever the case may be. It was so hard sometimes to get people ROAS. But for me, there's always like that low bottom benchmark. Like if there's anything that's making less than 3x ROAS, then I feel like if it's at 3x, I feel low. But if it's below that, I'm like, we either got to cut this off or figure out what's going on. Like that's like a minimum benchmark for anything that I do. But again, I'm definitely shooting for much higher than that. So for me, any social approach that I take is more of like a full funnel approach. That's what always, like, no matter what budget you have, a full funnel approach is going to work. Like it's going to help increase the numbers you want to increase and decrease the numbers you want to decrease. Like cost per click will lower and your ROAS will increase. What happens there, for example, like to give like tips to the audience, this is even what I implement with the groomsmen suit in certain perspectives, but is working from the top of the funnel. Anything you can do to get eyes for really cheap. So for example, that TikTok that I keep referencing, that's at the very top of my funnel. I get eyes on that for less than a penny, and people watch it and they're like, whoa. And then if, that has a really high view through rate. And then oftentimes it also drives a lot of clicks, even though it's a video views campaign. So that's not even the objective. And I'm grateful for those clicks. And then those people now have seen that. If they've watched a certain percentage of that video, if they've clicked through to the site, then I can re-engage them, retarget them to get them to either drive actual site traffic or to add something to their cart or whatever it is I want them to do. So I start up high and try to get people for as cheap as I can into my funnel. And then the various content that's kind of throughout the funnel, whether it's traffic, you're still kind of top of funnel there, to middle funnel if they're kind of poking around but haven't really added anything to cart or made like any type of real substantial movement towards making a decision. You can start getting more informative with your content. So instead of being like the groomsmen suit is the premier suit D2C brand, blah, 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 where you're just kind of like giving this like weird overhaul.
Every ad says, and it's weird if you don't say it. Nobody says, we are the 4th best suit you can buy online.
Yeah.
Like if you don't say that you're the best in your ad, like you have to have a campaign, or you are just, I don't want to say way too honest, but sharing more, you're oversharing at that point.
Yeah. So to me, I like to get just like more descriptive. Like people already know that your suit, like at this point, hopefully, like there's some like top of funnel stuff that I still needed to like flesh out, where it's like, oh, we're groomsmen suit, own your suit for $194 instead of rent or whatever. But then I can get more into the get free swatches, order a 7-day trial, try it on at home, group your like suit your group, like whatever the case may be. I can get into this more like informative type messaging where it's not just like this overarching copy or non-engaging content. It's actually like, oh shoot, that's what they do. So that's kind of like the middle, I would say, is still top of funnel, and then the middle funnel is more like the actual experience for people. So for example, we're very fortunate that we work with a lot of partners in terms of like insiders who have like exclusive discounts. And they're not like your average influencer. They're wedding planners, photographers. They're more of like these venues or people like wedding pros versus that influencer. But these people are also business owners trying to grow their brand and usually don't have a big team. So they're also typically okay at making like good content. So I've been fortunate enough to have 2 video ads that I have running right now that were from wedding planners where they're showing like, one is showing like the delivery experience. Like I ordered this is him trying it on. He's so happy. Order now, whatever they have on there. And then we have another video that is in the middle of funnel about the trial. So another wedding planner, like he did like the whole thing about how you get set up your trial and what that's like and how convenient it is and all this stuff. So, again, like as I get deeper into like the mid to bottom funnel area, I'm trying to show them like the exact experience like that they would have, like what they can expect from us. Which converts pretty high, but obviously like the highest conversion is if you can set up like an abandoned cart style ad. So including anyone that's added payment or added items to cart, but hasn't purchased, which is totally something you can do in Facebook very simply. If you do that, then you can do like dynamic ad groups where it's like only showing them things they've looked at or are super high priority to them. So those things convert at like 15 to 20x ROAS. Like that's like an easy money for me, especially because they've come from the tippy top and they've moved through each piece of my content to now they have no questions. They love this. I've berated them with ads. They know who we are. Like that, they feel like they can trust us at that point. So when it comes to anything paid social, if you have the ability and budget, which you can do this on a low budget, but is break up your ad groups as much as possible or your ad sets, your audiences as much as possible to build out a full funnel versus just like, I'm going to build one conversion campaign and that's all I have money for. So if you only have $10 a day, break it up 5 and 5 or something. Like work on if you're working low, break it up as much as you can. If you're working high, obviously that is a very generic approach that I just told you. We could go way deeper into like direct marketing and sending people through a funnel, like their own funnel based off where they landed on a landing page. But from a very general perspective, that's like, I mean, I've seen very few ads go or ad accounts do poorly on that method. Like that, it's very, very rare. And it's usually got something to do with your website speed or your product over the ad.
It's not, it's you. It's
not.
If it's not working, it's not the ads. It's you. Is it still possible to test ads at $10 a day and split that? Is that too low? Did that kind of go out when Facebook ran out of inventory in about 2016, or like at that point, are you better off spending $300 on something else a month?
No, I don't think that method is totally dead. I mean, it's been a while since I've worked with somebody at that low budget, like couple of years. But a lot of times, like at Springbot, a lot of our clients really did only have $200 a day or $300 a month. So that, especially because it was new to them, they were scared to invest and their revenue was so low that they were, that cut into like a lot into what they brought home at the end of the month. So what I will say is it's okay, I think, to start low if you want to like test something for click-through rates or landing page views or like things like that, so that you could see, what's my CPM with this audience? How many people are actually watching this or clicking on this or engaging with this? Like, is it worth me putting $30 a day behind it? I think that that's totally appropriate. I think long-term, $10 a day is not going to move the needle for anybody. I've seen, I want to say like a couple of really big retail brands. And when I say big retail brands, I don't mean like, I don't know, J. Crew or something. I mean like they're like a boutique that has a really large following and makes a few million a year. That was what I meant. So when I said that, I've seen
big
them.
retail can mean very different things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, as I said it out loud and then I went back, I was like, I got to pedal back a little bit. Like, that's not what I meant. But like a boutique store that makes a few $1 million a year and has a big following, I've seen them. Like, I'm not going to name drop a specific person, but like there was this one store I worked with where they gave me $300 a month and their cost per click was 3 cents on an ad, like, for traffic, and their ROAS was like insane. Like they would spend $300 and be making like 20 grand. I was like, what is going on? I could not wrap my head around it. And I still have a group chat with all the girls I worked with on that team, and some of them still work there. And when I was like talking about that with one of them, they're like, oh, I run their ads now and it's the same thing. Like there are very few people that'll get away with it like that. So don't expect those types of results. And if you're working with like an individual, or if you're working with an agency and that's all you give them to work with, like you can't expect them to change your life. Like there are probably a lot of other issues that need to be corrected. So to even make that budget work if it's not already working for you. So that's that.
Thank you. Sorry, I was sneezing there on camera. It must have been horrible to look at. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No. Honestly, I don't know where to look when I'm doing this. Like when you're talking, I look at you, but then I see myself like looking like this. So I try to look into the camera. So when
that's
you sneeze,
what I
wasn't even looking.
It's hard, and because you have your peripherals and we're used to motion. I mostly just look at myself and think, oh man, is it the lighting or
everyone does?
Man, nobody loves how they look on camera. I doubt it.
Yeah.
So I know that we are coming up on time. I mean, we have the last slot. We could go all night if we wanted to, but we have other things to do. I think I bought the last bike in Toronto, so I need to go pick that up tonight before they give it away. But one thing that we were going to talk about is personalizing that content, and with something that's so personal in terms of sizes, style, materials, budgets, even regions. I'm sure the trends in your Chicago store are different than Philly at times. What are some of the ways that you use personalization to increase sales?
Yeah.
In a way that's automated and doesn't frustrate people.
Yes. So that was like the first thing I did when I came in. I had the privilege of working with a really big brand owned by Sheryl Sandberg right before I went back to full-time work, and revamped all of their automations. And that's what really got me into like personalization. So then coming right off of that project into TGS, like that was like my first thing. I was like, we gotta automate some of this. Like nobody needs to be responding to these emails. Like I got you. And so it's interesting. You've given me a few ideas because of like your perception of like, or your perspective, like what you think my version of personalization is versus like how I actually do it. Because I don't really personalize a lot of stuff in emails around sizing or even colors or trends. Not to say that's not in the plans, but we're actually in the middle of a rebrand that's going to take place on April 15th. So stay tuned for that if you're paying attention. Groomsman Suit will still reroute you to our new site. But anyway,
are you going headless?
But what was it?
Are you going headless?
Headless?
Like a headless commerce build to bring all the trails in?
I'm sorry. I should know that term, but I don't. I'm like, what?
Shameless plug. There's Shogun has a great blog post about it, and there's a few episodes of Pit Stop talking about it because it's kind of that trend that people are talking about, but it's still what is headless commerce. So if you check Pit Stop, there's a few episodes about that and I should probably start launching my newsletter. So I'll do an email about what is headless commerce and how that applies to you maybe on Friday.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that because now I'm sparked. I'm like, wait, what? Do I need to know this? But we are rebranding. To summarize the rebrand really quick, if this answers your question, is we're everything for the most part. If you go to thegroomsmansuit.com, we've already started making a lot of changes in terms of like an editorial photo shoot we did earlier this year and everything. So a lot of stuff has already started to kind of start that migration. We've been working with a really big SEO partner to make sure we don't lose our rankings because the groomsman suit is so highly searched, or groomsman suit is highly searched for people planning their weddings. So we're working on a lot of that stuff. But like we've mentioned earlier in this conversation, like we have 2 people that are full developers that are working on this stuff like pretty much nonstop. So that's, you know, the biggest thing for me is all the stuff that I came in and implemented from November to now. I'm basically redoing all of it, but with different branding. So really cool. But so to kind of like backpedal into like what the question was and like personalization in email marketing and like what can we automate and what, like, where does it make sense? For us, like one of the biggest things that people love about the Groomsmen Suit is how our customer support works. So one of my biggest goals whenever I'm working on automation that's going to alleviate some work from my people is making sure that I'm not taking away from the customer experience, because that is so important to our sales and revenue. So for example, some things that you can do to make it seem very personal, even if you're not necessarily, it's good if you can call someone by their name, but even if you're not doing that, is like having these like backup like emails where it looks like Kristen at the Groomsmen Suit is my normal email, but maybe an email from like Klaviyo that I'm sending out might be Kristen J at the Groomsmen Suit. So it still looks like it's coming right from me, but then I tie it back to Gorgeous. So when someone responds, it creates a support ticket and one of my customer support gurus can go in and respond. So that's like one thing for personalization is all of our emails, not all of them, but a lot of them, especially when it comes to like following up after a trial or after a swatch or whatever the case may be, those still look like they come from my customer support gurus directly.
Oh, wow.
And then,
what a good tactic. I love that. Because especially, and it's funny, Harley from Shopify talked about it, where he always wears like black shirts, and it's you have a guy, and I'm sorry for using gender neutral language when the 10 of 11 staff at the Groomsmen Suit are women, but like you have a guy that you just go see and they just fix your problem. You have a fixer, I think would be a much better gender neutral term. But once you have that interaction, it's you want your fixer to go in and solve your problems. You don't want it to be coming from marketing. You want the email to be coming from Alyssa.
Yep. And so when anything is like couple relative, like if it's like about the swatch or the trial, it comes from Melissa. If it's to our insiders, that's like wedding pros, people that we work with that have their discount codes, etc. Those emails, I have custom tags made that like we have these like profiles of them that like from that dashboard that we've talked about, that like my CTO built, and basically we have Klaviyo with these custom tags that will pull in their discount code, their rep's email. And basically on any email they get from us, it looks like it's coming from the person who leads that team. And then it includes all of their personal information. And they're like, don't forget, this is your code. This is your rep. This is their email. So anywhere that I can provide that personalization in terms of like who it's coming from, that's like one area of like making it seem very personal. Another thing is like those custom tags or those dynamic tags that you can use in Klaviyo, where you could pull in someone's first name is like the best example there. That is like the bare minimum, I think. Like if you have somebody's first name, but like I'm trying to think of like an example here is the one that I just used with the insiders. But if I have all this other information about them, when I'm writing an email to them or an automation to them, I can include all this stuff where it really, now it's coming from Katie or Alyssa, but now it also has all this personal information. It legit looks like it came right off the desk, like right from them. So using that personalization method, but like the deeper use of personalization is more in like how you conditionally split an automation. So our abandoned carts right now, I'm happy to talk about this in more depth, is like, the first thing I check for is like what's in the cart. If it's a swatch, which is free, their automation for abandoned cart is much different than somebody who has a suit in their cart. But once they have a suit in their cart, I check for a lot more things. Like, do they have a wedding group created on our site? Are they just like a person who's in the wedding group versus created the wedding group? Have they had a trial? Have they had a swatch? Have they had both? Have they had one or the other? You know, and every abandoned cart flow like goes in a different path and has a different follow-up sequence depending on what they're marked and tagged as. So they're now getting abandoned cart and it comes from Alyssa and it says, hey, I saw that you ordered a trial in the past, but you haven't checked out yet. You know, I just wanted to make sure that everything is okay. Is there anything else that you need help from? or help with or something. So it looks like, again, Alyssa or somebody from my team is directly emailing them saying like, hey, I saw that you already have XYZ done. What's missing? Like, where can I help you? And again, it all just opens tickets in Gorgeous, which, you know, tying again to like ecom tech and like things that you can implement for support. These things are just so critical to us. Like my abandoned cart rate I was talking about the other day, like our open rates, depending on where they're at in that different, like how a house split I have it, that can vary the open rates a lot, but our open rates vary from 60 to 100%, and our click-through rates are around 50% on all of them. And then our conversion rate is 12 to 20% on abandoned carts, or 24 to 44%, sorry, on abandoned carts. So to me, it's like my abandoned cart flow and how personalized and split I can get into that is so crucial and critical to driving revenue. So, and I mean, that goes for any flow. We also have a flow that goes out depending on how far out from your wedding you are. So starting at 12 months, you get an email, 11 months out, you get an email. And this is all dependent on the dates. And then that checks in a different flow, puts you into a specific segment. And then you hit the automation based off what month you're in. And then we give them like some special tips and tools. And then within those, I have like splits, which like, if like month 6, I might recommend a trial. If they've already ordered a trial, I'm going to send them something a little different. So really, you can take customizations and your automations or personalizations in your automation so deep if you have the time. My recommendation for how to tackle that is to work on one flow at a time and think about all the different variables that come into a customer's experience and like how can you enhance their experience through these flows. And you can do this also with SMS. So pretty cool. It's helped drive a lot of conversions. I love looking at Klaviyo's dashboard and seeing all the money that my new flows that I've implemented since starting have driven. So it's really cool and it's fun to look at.
Have you done a birthday flow?
No. See, the thing about like our stuff traditionally, like from what I've gathered since I've started and what we've talked about a lot here is like the moments when people buy a suit are so specific, and maybe birthday is a great moment to buy a new suit, but the thing that where a lot of e-commerce brands, especially like in consumable products or for like a fashion boutique or, you know, whatever, you're looking at this like lifetime value, like how much money can I get them to spend over time? For us, it's way more about like getting that initial wedding group to have 8 groomsmen or 8 bridesmaids or whoever you have on your group, like have an 8-person wedding party, bringing them in, getting them all to shop, and then get like the full suit, tux shirt, shoes, belt, vest, like increasing the average order value per person, and doing that more so than it is for like customer lifetime value. So I think as we transition into our new name next month and we appeal to a broader audience of people, that will be something that we'll probably look into, is like various ways to increase lifetime value and be there for multiple moments versus just the wedding. But since I've started, that's just not been something that we've done.
Yeah, and I think it's something that you could do. And the reason that I asked this is I'm recording a bunch of episodes with Greg from OmniSend tomorrow, and they publish a report on automations, and birthdays have super high engagement.
Yep.
But the conversion rate isn't there, but it's good because it's a nice gentle reminder that you get to have some fun with. And I don't know how to set up the tracking on it, but I just drew you this little tree where if you start with the one wedding up top and then you have the 4 groomsmen, if you can get one out of the 4 to keep buying. So maybe the register, you send them the birthday reminder that, hey, if you get married for your wedding, here's 50% off your suit if you bring your wedding party or whatever the promo is, and then just try to keep that chain going as far as you can.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I mean, we've looked at various ways for referrals through our customers and through our partners. I think like we'll continue to like build that out as our new name and like our transition happens. It's been so hard for me in this call to like be between the 2 names and like not say the other name. We're trying to like not speak it out loud too much until it's implemented. But I think as we transition, like the more and more of that kind of stuff we'll do. But my co-founders have been, I won't even say my co-founders specifically, but between my co-founders and just like the way that the business model has been up to date is like we have traditionally avoided coupon codes or discounts unless it's an insider, like one of our wedding pros or like a friends and family situation. So that's also been a little bit unique for me because I'm always somebody who's like, come on, no, let's give like a little incentive. Like it's okay if that's like part of the acquisition cost. So for me, that's been like traditionally like different. So
it is, but it's funny. And this is why writing and language is so important. It's not constantly bombarding with discounts. And shameless plug for Pit Stop, but I talked about Dan Dembski from Unbound Merino, who made my shirt and hoodie, about this. And they run 1 or 2 discounts a year so that when it goes on, it's big. And you can say, hey, 2 of our discounts are coming up in 3 weeks. So make sure you have your notifications on. Go to your push notifications. Hey, if you don't want to miss it, subscribe to SMS. That's what Beard Brand does. But there's a very big difference between, say, a 10% or call it a 40% discount and a $50 gift card. So, hey, here's a $50 gift card for your wedding when you're ready. A little present from us to you. And so it's just the verbiage, even though it's the same thing, even though the cost per promotion is still the same amount, it's funny how that works. Or even if you, to go full circle as we take it home, talking about direct response, you could have an actual gift card with their name on it if you knew that that they spend a lot on their suit, and almost do an ABM approach to borrow something from our SaaS worlds. But it's fun for me to chat about. You have to actually do it and measure it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say ABM because whenever I had one of my first SaaS jobs, like I was like really obsessed with learning more about ABM because I think Terminus coined that term, and they were right next to us in our building. So I actually had the ABM book for dummies that they launched in like 2015 or 16. And I remember I was so bummed I left that on a plane. But anyway, side note again. But these are great ideas. And I think that I think you're so right about like what a difference there's such a difference that between the percentage versus the dollar amount. That's like an ongoing conversation, I feel like, in commerce, when we're all like, whenever people like us or operators like get together and we're like talking like, oh, what's working for you, what's not, things like that. I had a client through COVID that I worked with in Australia. I've worked with him since the day he launched his business. He's a really small brand, but he in COVID or during quarantine, we did 2 sales. We did like one that was basically like spend this, get 30% off, and then spend this, get $100 off or something. Like we did like 2 variations of it. And like both of them performed very well despite people being in lockdown, and this was like gym wear. So I was very surprised that it did so well during lockdown. But
you don't have to work out in it. You can just feel like you're working out from home.
Yeah, these type of leggings are like kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I definitely don't wear them to just hang out in, but they're beyond the point. They did very well, both of them, but there was like, I remember there being a clear difference and us being like, oh man, like, look, why are people so into the dollar amount? They spent so much more money. Like it was crazy. So I think that's definitely worth testing, especially like, for a good example for this, for anybody who might be listening, is like if you, for example, are using Klaviyo, they have A/B testing on their pop-ups, and you could easily A/B test how many signups you get for 10% off versus $10 off 100, or whatever the case may be. So whatever makes sense for your business. Like Inside Weather, I think, does this, and they give you like a $20 gift card. I'm like, for the $2,000 couch? Like, thank you, but you know, like it's ridiculous. So I think like you should take into account like what that discount looks like to your consumer too. You don't want to give them something where they're like why are they even offering
almost
this?
insulting. It's like, and sometimes it's better to do gift with purchase. So if it's a $2,000 leather couch, say, you know what, we'll offer free leather care from Jerry's leather maintenance, whatever it is. Anyway, we're getting a little bit out there with the analogies, which I think is a good time to take it home. Kristen, is there anything else that you want to add on the organic side, the paid side, the personalized automations, anything else that you were dying for me to ask that I just didn't? What else do you want the audience to take away?
I don't think there is anything that I was like dying for you to ask, but I think like something I always like to wrap up with as it pertains to like content, because I heard this kind of in the end of the last conversation too, is like content doesn't have to be expensive. Like it doesn't. A lot of times, like I said, if you go consume content, you can figure out what shots you need to make your own video at home, and there might be a little learning curve if you need that to like figure out how to make it yourself, but honestly, it's so easy to go at golden hour. Like right now is golden hour. There's shadows coming in on my white rug. I'm gonna go take this over there with my phone with some shadow reflections on it, and that's going to be an ad. Like it's so easy to do, and like we've overcomplicated it for so long because this high value production content used to be the thing that sold and converted, and now it's just not. So just remind yourself that to just do your best, try. Sometimes it might be awkward, but you can try, and content doesn't have to be very expensive to produce, and you don't have to work with like these big people like Cardi B. You can work with the small micro influencers that really are just happy to get free product or something along those lines, like to get the content for the assets that you need for those different ad placements. So there's that. And then one more thing I'll plug. Make sure when you're making ad assets that you make assets for every size variation. The primary ones being 9x16 for your Instagram and Facebook stories, your 4x5s, that's more for like feed inline. And then obviously your 1x1s for where 4x5s don't fit. So making sure that you have content variations that fit in all placements so that no matter where somebody receives it, they receive it well. And that's it.
I love that. One last thing to tie it all together. If 90 Day Fiancé can adapt to COVID by sending their cast iPhones to film a television cable show, you can too. What you can hold in your hand is good enough to film content.
Yep, that is so true. I was like, where is he going with this? Because I haven't watched, but there are people literally doing full-blown series on like TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, look at Mr. Beast, the hottest YouTuber in the world. He started with his MacBook webcam.
I will bring you a dog to close this out.
Oh, thank you. Is that a GSP?
Yep.
Well, there we go. What's your dog's name?
Her name is Willow. She's whining and being a baby. If you can't tell, she's like literally throwing her whole body weight on me. She makes an appearance on anything that I do, just because she's so needy and clingy. So she always gets on the lap somehow, even though she's no longer a lap dog.
Well, looks like one to me. All right, I'm going to let you go. You've got a happy pup to take care of. Kristen, thank you so much for joining me. I had an absolute blast doing this. Yeah. I think you mentioned where people can find you, thegroomsmansuit.com. Stay tuned for a new name, much like Voldemort. It's the name that shall not be named. So follow Kristen for that big display. Check out my podcast, Pit Stop, Rolled Up. And if you want, and just search for Lucas Walker wherever you get your podcasts. New retail podcast coming out soon. I think we're good to go. I'll let the tech team. Derek, there you are. I was stalling and rambling. I'm like, do I have the studio?
I wasn't going to let you guys stop. You're having too much fun up there. I've just been here letting this letting the fun happen. This is great. I love everything you guys have been up to.
I want to say thank you too I know this was like kind of a last minute stitch, and it was really fun. Today's been like a really crazy day, and I was like doing my makeup on team call to make sure I was like prepared for camera. So it's been really fun, and I'm really glad that you guys asked me. This was a fun convo.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Great to have you both here. One thing I'll say about crazy days, because my wife and I have been saying this too much, especially during COVID, is we would say, "What a day." And I made us change it. So I said, okay, anytime we say that, we have to now say, what a great day. Mm-hmm. So it's been a great day today. And thank you guys so much for being here. Lucas, I'll be sure to shoot you over this footage so you'll have it very soon and turn it into the full-fledged podcast that it deserves to be. I was really grateful to learn the story of the groomsman suit. Your abandoned cart recovery rates blew my mind. And I love the unique strategy of the groomsman suit because of the way the business works around, especially weddings and stuff like that. It makes a ton of sense, and it looks like you've been able to make huge adaptations in the market. So yeah, thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Lucas. I will let you guys both go.
Okay, bye guys.
And Zoom wave for COVID.
Awesome. What a day. What a great day, right? Oh my gosh, guys, we covered so much today. I think so many jaw-dropping moments, including seeing My Sure Fit with one picture size up somebody so that they could permanently have the right size clothes when they go shopping online. That blew my absolute mind. And it's not going to be over yet. We have a second day coming to you if my computer will continue to work. Here we are. Let me show you first, before we go to the day 2, let's talk about the sponsors. We have to thank our 3 main sponsors, Recart, LTV Plus, and Gorgeous, for being amazing and showing us both through their platforms and through the strategies that their tools enable, which of course, work regardless of your platform. Messenger marketing is working, live chat is working, and being great with your customers is always going to work for business. Tomorrow, we're going to open with Nert Chevy from Savvy, which takes a slightly different approach to the things that you need for a customized fashion experience. Look at the site. It's like a stylist in your pocket. And I think this is what the world is coming to. I'm really excited to talk with her and figure out where the future of fashion and apparel is going, especially when it comes to e-commerce. We've got 2 merchant interviews. I'll be talking with Leslie from Venom, and Ty will be interviewing Cadigan from Cadigan. And then we will see how augmented reality is changing our world, as well as Buy With, which is loading. It's a platform for influencers to better sell products. So we talked today about influencer marketing, how to make it work. Now the influencers can actually connect to your Shopify store and sell more product through live streaming and all of that. All of this stuff is like truly huge. It's groundbreaking, and it can change your business. That's it for me. Future events. This is us. And if you want to book a consult with me at any point, I talk to merchants on a daily basis about the tech tools they should be using to grow their store. My whole job here is to understand the emerging e-commerce technology landscape, understand the tools in your stack, and then in the stage of your business, and then make that connection, make the right fit happen so that you're using the right tool at the right time. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for sticking with us to the end. My screen might have frozen there. Well, okay. I will see you guys all tomorrow at 9 a.m. PST sharp for the beginning of day 2. See you then.